right, everyone, like you heard in the intro, two special guests, two voices you know, and now two faces you're going to start to know. As it's season 3 here, the show about sports, and so you know what I had to do. We go into every season, and I love to have LP and Vic Money back on the show for none other than the Division Winners podcast episode. It's August. NFL is right around the corner. We're not only going to predict our NFL division winners, but 1 through 4 to make it interesting. We're going to pick who's going to be good, who's going to be bad, this, that, and the other. And this is a fun episode. These guys come with some good takes across the board. LP even predicted Baker Mayfield with the Tampa Bay Bucks 2 years ago. He was right about them. And so we
holding on to that one.
Still holding on to it. So anybody that's been listening to it, they know that. Shout out Vic, LP. How you doing tonight?
Living well, man. Living well. Been slowly catching back up on everything that's happening in the off season and training camp and everything. It's going to be an interesting NFL season this year. I think it's really almost anyone's game for a few divisions in terms of like your second, third, fourth place, with some clear winners coming up at the top this year. But it's going to be interesting to see.
I think the same. There's a ton of teams where it's just going to be no-brainers to pick. But, you know, there's a lot of, I would say half the divisions have a literal, coin flip. We won't say her name because she'll pop up on my phone. SIRI, otherwise. But it's so tough on some of these because of just trading off-season injuries. So many things to keep track of, at least from my opinion, more than the previous year. So,
yeah, 100%. And it's super interesting. I went into this exercise and just got out, the pad of paper and just started writing it down. Unintentionally picked the same division winners of 2024 to win in 2025. I was like, okay, I am not thinking about this enough strategically. There's no way that that's going to happen. That's never how it's always been. You look at the NFC East, there's been a different winner the past like 10 years in a row or some weird stat like that. You look at the NFC West, super competitive. AFC West, there's always somebody knocking on the doors of the Chiefs, etc. So it's going to be super interesting, and I'm excited to get your guys' takes. Let's start with the NFC West. Shout out to Sean Alexander. LP's rocking the Seahawks for us here. As you know, we're big Seahawks people on this podcast. NFC West, Logan, I'm going to start with you. 1 through 4, who do you got winning, and then where do the rest fall?
Yeah, so I think this is a perfect example of one of those like clear number ones, and then the rest is kind of up for grabs. I'm gonna have to go Seahawks number 1. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna go Seahawks number 1, but at the same time, I think that this is almost anyone's division to grab, Cardinals aside. Unfortunately, I think the Cardinals just really do not have enough in the tank still. I really don't know what that organization is doing. I think that they're a likable roster. I'm a big fan of Kyler Murray, but for some reason, that team is just subpar for just every aspect, whether it's offense, defense, team spirit. They just can't seem to get it done. For the remaining 3 teams, I think it's really interesting. You have a lot of changes happening with the Seahawks. We haven't seen any of it play out because there's been obviously no games, but so many of the players are changing. It's not like it's anything similar to the last season. If we swapped out a few parts, you would still have a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like. New quarterback, some new defenders, new threats on offense. It's really looking like the Seahawks are going to be a complete wild card this year. I personally am confident with the changes that we made. I think Sam Darnold, if he has, let's say, 70% of the year he had last year, that's enough to win us one more game than last year. That puts us at 11 wins. That, I think, is enough to win the division. You have JSN continuing to do what he does best. I am so glad to see him continue to increase his utility and productivity on the field. I did not know he was going to pop off as much as he did last year. And then I think Cooper Kupp, not washed. He was a Triple Crown winner, what was it, a few years ago. I think our defense is only going to get better with Mike McDonald. It's going to be interesting what happens. When you have the other 2 teams, the 49ers and the Rams, I think it's really a toss-up. The 49ers seem almost lost. I don't think they've lost as much talent on their roster, but there seems to be like a morale problem that's happening on their roster. Last year, whether it was only because McCaffrey was out, they just felt like they couldn't get anything done. I know their special teams were struggling. That lost them a lot of games, but they just kind of feel lifeless. I don't really know where to put them. I hate to risk or put injuries out into the universe, but McCaffrey having an injury history, I think their success really relies on how healthy he can be. And the Rams, I think the Rams are the biggest, I don't know, of maybe the whole NFL. How good is Devontae Adams going to be on the team? I honestly am not big on that. I think he's a good wide receiver, but I don't see him propelling that team to the next level. I think their defense is still evolving, their offense is still evolving. It's going to be really interesting. Does Puka regress? I don't know. People have him really high up, and I don't really put him on that top tier wide receiver quite yet. I think he's incredible, but we see so many young people come into the league, have breakout years, and then fall off, like Michael Thomas, for instance, right? Will Puka Nakua be somebody like that? I don't know, but there is a possibility. I haven't seen enough from the 49ers or the Rams last year to this year to really provide as much input. So I got Seahawks, 49ers, Rams, Cardinals.
It's
So
so interesting. Go ahead, Vic.
the Niners above the Rams. You're talking about the division champs regress to third. That's what I'm hearing.
That's what he's saying.
Okay, go ahead.
And I was going to say, what was interesting is this is such a good start because it sounds like we might only all agree on the Cardinals being fourth, because when you said that list, I have all different spots for every team that you just went through. Seahawks, I want to give them the love, but last season I gave them too much love. There's so many more question marks that we need to go through. Sam Darnold, I'm excited for. I really did like what Geno had, and I don't think he got a fair shake with that offensive line that we had. Now that we have JSN stepping up, I love Cooper Kupp. I'm interested to see our run game under Clint Kubiak because we couldn't move that line forward to save our lives. And so I'm keeping the Rams at the top. Stafford's taken this whole offseason off, has apparently had an epidural in his back because of how much pain he's in. But then yesterday goes on to throw 60 throws, no problem. Best he's ever looked, aka they were just resting him. I don't know about this epidural. It's almost feeling like a conspiracy theory at this point. Their defense is young. It's hungry. They have a great system in the place. So I think it's going to be whichever team has the best defense come hell or high water at the end. And I think the Rams and Seahawks have the two best defenses in the division. So I have the Rams number 1, Seahawks number 2, and 49ers. I can't bump them up to second because of everything that we kind of discussed, because they are just always hurt. I love CMC. Kittle's cool. I love their offensive line. Their defense, I swear, I look on threads every day and somebody else is hurt. Thankfully, the Rams and the Seahawks, there hasn't been a ton of info coming out of there with injury reports. So knock on wood on there for one of our teams. But with the 49ers, it's sometimes it's everyone's favorite poster child to be like, they're going to bounce back. Every team bounces back. That's this good. They have 5 all-pros. Okay, yeah, they had 5 all-pros that were all-pros 5 years ago. It's okay that the train is running off the track for this kind of iteration of the team. And unfortunately, their young guys just haven't progressed, or they've gotten injured and haven't found momentum in the league. So that's where I'm with there. And I think even with the Cardinals in last, I still think they can win 7-8 games and push and make this division who's first to 11 wins, is essentially like Logan was saying there. So Vic, what do you think on the NFC West?
You're calling that first to 11. Looking at the Cardinals, they won 8 games last year and took third. They could easily win 8 games this year and take fourth. And I think that is what is going to happen. I do think the Niners get a little bit better than what they did. They have an entire offseason to figure out all of those cobwebs that they had. Throwing 2-yard slants to Debo across, getting hit by Ray Lewis every game was not the greatest offense you could have ran. And Kyle knows that. He knows how to put something better together instead of giving McCaffrey the ball 60 times a game. That being said, Griff, actually the list is the exact same order for you, but I have a different reason for the Hawks. So we're talking about, LP kind of says we like the new Hawks. I just can't think of a time that we had a new team that did it in their first year, right? It took Josh Allen how many years? It took X person how many years? The only person that it really worked for was Tom Brady. I mean, he went on and that happened to him. So I just don't see that happening. I think the Rams, looking at their schedule last year, they got screwed themselves out of a few games. They go from 10 maybe to 11 or 12 wins. And you also brought up the little epidural thing. I think Stafford had his Paul Pierce moment. He had to go to the locker room on the wheelchair and come back and just let the people know that he's here to play, right? I don't know what kind of stunt they were pulling. Maybe he needed it. People say it's showing his age. I don't think that's the case. It doesn't really matter. We can't use that age as an anti-argument for Stafford, but use it for Rodgers, who can't even, move, coming off 2 bad seasons and a torn Achilles. Prayers up to the Achilles team over here. But it just doesn't make the Hawks jump any higher having new team. Of all 8 divisions, The Hawks are the one team I would rather be surprised about having a good season. But if I'm sitting at the casino and the ladies looking at me and they say, "Sir, place your bets," I'm putting them in second place. That's just how the dice are going to roll down. I can't shake a feeling any other way.
I love it. No, that's a great way of putting it. Great analogies. And also shout out to the Achilles. Vic is also coming off of his Tatum moment this past offseason. My man's recovering from an Achilles injury. Similar championship in his own rec league, I think it was. Maybe NBA Finals, who knows?
And we lost.
And we lost. Just worst way for Vic to go down. Don't see those football jerseys in his background and think he's just a one-trick pony. This man's hooping as well, but not for next season. He's out all year as he recovers. Let's move on, though. I love everything that we talked about there. The NFC North. Talk about another juggernaut of a division there. Talk about a division we could see flipped on its head because of all the storylines. We look at the Bears. Whole new regime. Caleb Williams with Ben Johnson, maybe the best pairing of a number 1 overall pick and an OC that's everybody's favorite poster child, second coming to Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. Then you look at the Vikings. Hey, JJ McCarthy, you're going to throw more passes this year than you did in your 4 years at Michigan because this is that type of offense. They're going to run the ball, but you have Aaron Jones back there so that you can throw him halfback screens in the back. We'll see how good JJ's arm is here. The Lions, welcome to a new era. Once again, best 2-year run of a team that has been in the trenches for so long, and now they're back. And then right when you get good, you lose everybody that you always wanted. But here's one thing. The players still remain the same. So we're about to see how important coaching is. Last but not least, the Packers. Most consistent team in this division, have made the playoffs 5 of the last 6 seasons under Matt LaFleur. Haven't made anything that made you feel good. Maybe that Cowboys win 2 years ago in the playoffs, but maybe that was more of a how bad the Cowboys were. I don't know. But Jordan Love, if we can just see a little bit of health, who knows where that team could go as everyone's high on them. So, Vic, I'm going to pass it to you here first. What's your order 1 through 4?
Absolutely. I am not sold on JJ McCarthy. I think he was handing the ball up to Blake Corum all season, and I could have done that and went out there and went to the national championship. It's just nothing against him. Great guy. He fits the organization well, and I'm sure he'll fit the scheme. I think we're going to have a Justin Jefferson, Antonio Brown moment where he's going to be just irritated. He's going to be like, T.O., Ocho Cinco, all those guys just begging for the ball. Throw me the ball. Please stop with this 7 points a game nonsense that they're going to end up inevitably doing. I don't see it. He's only a rookie because, he didn't play last year. He's a rookie in my heart, whether the NFL calls him that or not. They're the worst team. I'm also not sold on Caleb Williams, but I do think he makes just a better jump than the Vikings do. Looking last year, the Bears had 5 wins. I mean, my goodness, they could easily do better than 5 wins. And I think the Vikings are going to sit right around there. So very easy bottom 2 for me personally. And you have to flip between Lions and Packers, which had a 4-game difference last year. The Packers had 11 wins and the Lions had 15 wins. I just don't think the Lions are going to have those pieces this year. I think they had them super meshed, and now they're almost happening like a Niners fallout where McCaffrey one time, Ayuk one time, Debo one time. Everybody's just minor banged up, and they're trying so hard to hold on to this thing that worked 2.5 years ago. The Lions are going to take second in the division, and the younger, more put-together Packers team is just going to continue this growth arc and not this kind of regression thing that I think the Lions are going to go on. Pack up top, even though I hate to say it, Lions, Bears, JJ, and the running back machine that he is at the bottom.
I don't have the stats for this, but if the Vikings fall all the way to 4th, not only fall to 4th, but also have to lose enough games to be in 4th. If you think of it, and win totals would then probably sit around 6, maybe 7 wins at that point at the best. Say they win 5 games, what a regression. They win over 10 games last year. This is my problem. I'm with you on every slot except for those bottom 2. I have the Bears still in the caboose there in the back. I just don't think we're going to see it all. There's going to be the growing pains. There's going to be the star child of Ben Johnson's offense. But is their defense as good as people are saying? We're really just kind of skipping over. They're just going to score 40 points and win. Go ask Joe Burrow how many games they won last year with having such a good offense and a defense that struggled. They're nowhere near that type of defense in terms of struggle. But I just think the Vikings can't regress that far, right? With JJ, I think I just have a little bit more in the tank with JJ.
it's so hard to say they're going to go from 14 wins to potentially 7 or whatever the case is. That, like you said, that would be one of the bigger jumps in, modern NFL history, probably.
Mhm.
Darnold, I don't know what he did. He struck lightning in a bottle. And I think even Burrow went to the Super Bowl the one year and we, missing playoffs and injuries and things like that. I think they had their lightning in a bottle. So to me, that alone subtracts 2 to 3 wins, knocks them down to about a 10, 11 win team. Then you have JJ McCarthy, subtract another 2 to 3 wins. And now you're at that 8 to 7 win range. It is tough to say that regression is going to happen, but
Yeah.
it's going to happen because I said so.
Exactly. And you're not alone in that theory. A lot of people think that. Just a lot of people like myself have a hard time contemplating a 7-loss difference in terms of a year over year, with every other piece remaining the same. Talk about one of, if not the best wide receivers in the league on your team. One of the best, second best, he will be suspended, but Jordan Addison as a secondary option. You have a great option in the backfield, bringing in your team across the board. Their defense is too good for me to fall that far back. And I think defense doesn't win you championships, but it wins you regular season games, especially when your quarterback's struggling. So, Logan, I'm intrigued where you got this division, because I feel like you're going to throw a wild card in here.
Yeah, I think some of my biases are definitely coming through with this division. I think that this is one of the hardest ones to predict. I think you guys have shared a lot of good insight into the Vikings not being a team that can digress that far down from a previous season. However, in this division, I think that they're the clear top three: Lions, Bears, and Packers. They're going to be above the Vikings. Um, I don't think I don't think it's going to be down for them forever. I think JJ McCarthy just needs some more time actually playing football and being able to develop in that system. I think he'll be a fine quarterback over the next few years, but will he develop and do really well this one season? I don't think so. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm really interested to see for fantasy how people react with Justin Jefferson as well. I know I've been doing mock drafts, and the idea of picking Justin Jefferson is very scary with a QB like JJ McCarthy. But at the same time, people that picked Justin Jefferson last year with Darnold did pretty well for themselves. So it will be
Mm-hmm.
interesting. For the remaining three teams, I have the Lions up number one. I think although you have some organizational changes, those clear players are still there. I think they have this hunger. The city needs them to do well. I think they're just a really dominant team on offense and defense with Aiden Hutchinson, especially. Is he coming back first week this year? How is it going to work? I think they're going to be fine. That leaves the two teams, the Bears and the Packers. I've a lot of back and forth between these two teams. And I think it's just clear bias coming through about not being a Packers fan, that I have the Packers at 3 and the Bears at 2. The rationale between this is potentially just completely invalid and irrational, but I think the Packers are the most boring, just straight line team in the NFL. I think Jordan Love, as great as he is, he's got 8 number 3 wide receivers to throw to. I'm not really sure who's that star power on the defense. Who's the star power on their team? Whenever I watch a Packers game, it seems like I'm watching a game with everybody's last names ripped off the back of their jerseys. It's a football team. It's a decent football team, but I think this is maybe a year they go 8-8, like just criminally average. I could be totally wrong with that. I think if I were to put a prediction about what I might be wrong about the most, it's probably the Packers. So that being said, I have the Bears at number 2. I believe in the Caleb Williams hype train. I think it's really hard for anybody coming to league to get your groove in, and I think the team has enough to get it done. I think we've seen a lot of QBs go from their first to second year and then completely escalate into stardom. You look at Joe Burrow, he went to the Super Bowl in his second year. It could be third year, it could be wrong. But I see Caleb Williams reaching that higher tier of QB where people start to put him in the conversation of this is potentially a franchise QB for them. It will be really interesting to see, but I think that this division is almost up for grabs besides the Lions being on top.
Okay. I like where our head's at here. It's going to be interesting across the board. I like that call out about the Packers wide receivers. That's why I'm so intrigued about Golden. And they finally, for the first time in their franchise's history, it feels like, drafted a wide receiver in the first round. As long as he's on the field, that's going to be better than what they got from Watson, sometimes from Dobbs. Hopefully Jaden Reed's okay. He got a little banged up in the preseason. He was kind of coming on late last year. I picked him up in our fantasy league and won that, just so everybody knows in this pod. Um, side note here, both of them are in the fantasy league that I am also in together. So take fantasy advice sparingly for certain people. Definitely LP. He really likes being in second. So I don't know what to say. Me and Vic have won a few times. So that's where we're at with the NFC North. NFC South. Talk about a fun division to talk about. And when I say that, I mean sometimes it's a little bit meh. But this year, a lot of people are hyped on certain teams. I've seen a lot of Panthers hype, not a lot of Saints hype. Falcons, Michael Penix. Let's get excited. We drafted 2 edge guys in the first round. How about the Buccaneers? Always Mr. Consistent with Baker Mayfield, which is kind of weird to say after he came out of the NFL, came into the NFL as Mr. Inconsistent, and has now somehow found himself in conversations. Is he a top 8, top 10 quarterback in the National Football League? Those are debates we can have here. So the NFC South, Logs, I'm going to go to you. Are you sticking with the Buccaneers at top, as I know you really like them?
I am sticking with the Buccaneers on top, and I think it's very clearly number 2 going to the Falcons. I don't think that's kind of up for debate. I mean, you could maybe put the Falcons above the Bucks just based on how that team's going to continue to grow, but I think the Bucks are just solid. That leaves your 2 teams at the bottom. I think the Panthers are going to actually do a lot better than people expect them. I see a little bit of a growth for them. And it is really interesting when we're talking about these divisions, like when we were talking about the NFC West, even the last team is some team that can, they're going to get 6 wins or 8 wins or whatever. There are those teams. No one really goes 0-16 when they're playing football in these divisions. However, I feel like the Saints have a very good chance of actually going 0-16 this year. I don't think there is anything positive to look back at that organization with how they're running. It's going to be really interesting. You have a crowded locker room for QBs with not a clear person that should be starting. I've made it very clear about how I feel about some of their QBs on their roster. It's going to be really interesting to see, but as a Saints fan, I would try to hold on to that first few games you had last season as like a memento for the next few years to come, because I don't think there is much that's going to save you for the years following. So I have Bucks, Falcons, Panthers, Saints.
And we're in the same order. Me over here. I completely agree. 0-16, that would be quite amazing to go talk to the Lions fans. That's quite amazing if we can get around those realms there as the Saints. But hey, let's get excited. Maybe Tyler Shuck is something. Who knows? He definitely was a spotlight in the draft, as Shedeur slipped in the draft, as he was slotted to maybe go there. It'll be interesting to see if Tyler Shuck is worth the hype, as in his first preseason game today. He's looking all right, but everybody looks a little bit all right in the preseason if you just don't turn the ball over. So Vic, I'm going over to you. I'm with Logan on all these call-outs. I think Baker Mayfield's at the top. You followed by a bunch of young quarterbacks or rookie quarterbacks that are still trying to get their feet. So why not pick the Bucks with a great offense and a defense that remains fairly the same?
Yeah. The Saints, they're going to stink. That's it. Next up, we have the Panthers in third. And let me give you a good example. I'm looking at the AFC West from last year. Broncos took third. They had 10 wins. A Panthers fan needs to be praising for a third place 9 or 10 win season. That would be awesome, because here's what they want. They want that Texans effect that they're having now, right? They want Bryce Young to do the same thing, not 2 wins in a playoff. Obviously, that would be like amazing, but they want their guy. He was benched. They put in, basically a nobody. I don't even remember who replaced him.
Andy Dalton?
The again, Red Rocket.
He's not a nobody.
As a Cowboys fan, yes, he definitely is. He's awful. Here's the other thing about the Falcons too. People are just, I think if you look at it from a fantasy lens and you're like, they got Michael Pitts, they got Bijan Robinson, they got Drake London. Like, it's cool if you're playing against your friends in a game that doesn't actually exist. But in the National Football League with regular season wins, dubs down, Penix is going to take a solid second place. The only reason I don't put the Panthers in second is because I do think the Falcons' firepower is just good enough to get them. Any of those close games, they have a better chance to win. I think the Panthers, they lose a lot of their coin flip games. Falcons in solid second place because of that. No, and it doesn't really matter the win total. The Bucs are going to do it. He's Mr. Consistency, Baker is. I think he's also just Mr. Do it in the moment, right? 4th and 1, hitting linebackers for first downs. I mean, he just has game plays. He's not necessarily a stats guy when it comes to most comebacks in the fourth quarter, things like that. But the team is just better. It's even better now. They got Emeke or whatever his name is, right? Godwin's back from his knee. Mike Evans is going for his 10,000 yard season for 30 years in a row, whatever the heck he's been doing so far. Bucky is popping off, and then they still have, albeit a little bit old of a defense, but they're good. I mean, they have been in the same defensive scheme for a while, and it's not going to stop. It's the same train. It's kind of boring that we all had the same ones, but I would just be desperately waiting for the Falcons to just blunder that way, that everybody can just eat their words about Michael Penix and move on from him. And that's my only spiel about it. Anti UW guy here, but I want Bryce Young and them to jump the Falcons for 2. Same as last time, though. If I had to bet at the casino, the Falcons are going to take second.
See, here's a problem that we're running into, guys. This was the first time we've actually torn down a team like the Saints and been like, oh yeah, 0-16, like that could happen. But everybody else from 1 through 4 in each division and even 1 through 3 has won like 10 games in our minds right now. Like, who's bad in the NFC then at this point? We can't all win 10 games and get 4th place in division.
Well, that's the hard thing. You need to go through every single game and do win and loss, and then actually add up the totals, because who you're playing is also really important. It is really funny that you bring up a good point. Every team that's at the top is an 11-win team, and every team at the bottom is 8 wins. That doesn't make any mathematical sense.
No, exactly. So it's going to be interesting, and I'm with you. What's funny about the Michael Penix talk too is everyone was surprised that the Falcons took him. Nobody thought the Falcons were going to take him that year. They just signed Kirk Cousins. There was no reason to. And that was my reasoning for why, even if Penix succeeds, Kirk Cousins is still there. Nobody wants to trade for him. They don't want to give up an asset to, you look at the Browns, you look at the Saints, that's just a 1-year plan if you go pick up a guy like Kirk Cousins. That's not a plan going forward. And so I just feel this weird tension that's going to kind of arise. And I definitely think Raheem Morris, as kind of a 2nd-year head coach in the system, might play around with, I need to win games here. I need to win those divisional games. So come hell or high water, I know I've said that phrase again, but like that could be what we see. And I don't like that inconsistency. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have 0 quarterbacks. I want one clear quarterback, and that's the Buccaneers.
You do love saying that. You do love that. Yeah. With the Steelers had that thing going on with Russ and Fields. You said you got 2 quarterbacks, you got no quarterbacks, right?
Exactly. And look at them. They make the playoffs because, gosh, I think Tomlin has made a deal with the devil somehow. I don't know how he keeps doing it, but he can go to the playoffs with Mason Rudolph, Aaron Rodgers, this, that, or the other. Who knows? But that's the NFC South. It's going to be a weird division because nobody likes to talk about it, really. They're like, oh, the Buccaneers won. But then the Buccaneers go and beat the Eagles in the first round of the playoffs last year, 2 years ago. They can beat good teams, and I really think Emeka is going to come in as an Ohio State wide receiver. And once again, prove that if you go to Ohio State and play wide receiver, you're probably pretty good. So definitely get picked by a team. So that's there. Let's go to the NFC East, Vic's favorite division, and a division that I unfortunately do not have the Cowboys winning, as a little preview to my pick. But Vic, I'm going to start with you. Let's go 1 through 4.
Yeah, we're going to go 4 through 1. Down there at the bottom, you got Russell Wilson, Jameis, and the Giants. I think they will get a good step up again as far as production, numbers, highlights, things for fans to be excited about. Russell can find people that are open. They have a couple of weapons, neighbors, he's going to get doubled, whatever the case is. Morale jumps way up when you got Jameis on the team. I mean, that guy is going to give you at least 1 locker room win, but that won't translate to actual wins. And they're going to sit down at the bottom. They had 3 wins last year. Russell has the experience in them. They're going to be 5 wins, maybe, or 6. So here's one of those ones where it's like they're a bad team. No 8-win 4th place. We're talking about a bad team. In 3rd place, the Washington football team.
Okay, you got to be honest with yourself.
They're still good. Okay, nobody's saying that they're a bad team. You're talking about 12 wins last season. I love that out of them. They kicked our tail, and they kicked the Giants' tail. That's 4 wins right there, and I think 1 or 2 of those has got to be flopped, right? Division rivalry, I think Russell may squeak a win out at home potentially, and let's knock on wood, hope the Cowboys have a quarterback that's standing in the pocket that can throw a ball against the Commanders' defense, which has like the average age of like 49 years old. So, I mean, it's
led by Big Bobby.
It's not that they're a bad team. You're talking about the Cowboys went 12, 12, 12, and then the torn hamstring, and they went 7 wins last year. Commanders won 12 games last year. I think they lose 1 or 2 extra, and they slot to 3 just because of that standing. Now, who is in
Don't say it.
2nd place? Freezing cold take. The Eagles will be in second place next season. And it's not
So
anything,
funny.
it's not anything to do with the Cowboys. The
Not the
Eagles
beanie.
won 17. They won 14 games last year, right? A couple of them were too close for comfort, and they should have lost to the Rams in that playoff game. So they're coming off a high that they shouldn't even have now. It's just like De La Salle, right? They won 150 games in a row, and then they went and they lost to Bellevue High School or whatever it was. They're coming off this high that they shouldn't have had, and they're going to take a 1 to 2 game regress and sit at 13, 12 wins. That is totally a great season to sit in the wild card round and go on the road and lose to somebody else. The problem is you have the Dallas Cowboys sitting up there at number 1. They're going to break that 12-win ceiling. Dak he's gotten 12. He's gotten 12 before. They got 13 once. He is going to break that 12-win ceiling and win the division. Coming back, a little bit more pieces. Zach Martin retired. We have another backup lineman we lost him for the year. But
Got Collins.
the weapons are there. It's all about, can they bring the coaching together? Will Micah Parsons sign, right? Huge anti-Jerry Jones fan. Most of us Cowboys guys are. But at the end of the day, we said the same thing. LP passed on CeeDee Lamb last year in that fantasy draft, and they signed him the next morning. It's going to happen. 2 days before we play the Eagles on opening night, Thursday Night Football, Micah Parsons will become the second highest paid defensive player ever. He just doesn't walk, right? We're going to get to that point. And like you said, the division flips in the NFC East, and I don't think it's going to be any different this year. G-Men, Skins, Eagles, boys, freezing cold.
For anybody that's listening through the audio, Vic did put a beanie on when he said freezing cold take, which was electric for that reveal. Did not see that coming. And here's the thing. I don't hate any of your takes here across the board. I'm with you with the Giants, other than I'm intrigued by Jackson Dart. I want to see what he's got. I'm not a huge fan of him, but as a rookie in a system where he's definitely going to get some reps, especially if Russell does kind of what he does in Pittsburgh and doesn't necessarily win you games, but doesn't lose you, Dart might be able to come in and give you a little bit of extra more juice, because Dart looks a lot like Russell did as a rookie, where he's on his feet a little bit, but it's sneaky on his feet, where you're like, oh, he's going to go out and get some. He's faster than he looks. He actually is one of the leading rushers in the NFL all time as a quarterback. That's crazy to think of Russell Wilson as that, even though he's a big arm talent. I unfortunately have the Cowboys third on my list, but you're almost selling me to second here across the board. I'm with you. I think the defense is the biggest question mark. I think the offense with Pickens is fun. Jake Ferguson, let's see another step now that you have another contract. CD, if Dak is healthy, CD is going to be open a little bit more with Pickens across the board. Their offensive line does worry me, because why not a Guyton injury in the preseason? You hate that. Chargers, you've fallen down my list because of that Slater injury. You can't tell me you have a good offensive line and then your best offensive lineman go down, and then me not going to take a little bit of a step back. So I'm interested to see there. And the Commanders, like you called out, they won a lot of 1-score games. The fail Mary at the very end, they shouldn't have won that game. The toss to when you went to Terry McLaurin in the corner of the end zone against the Bengals, they won a lot of coin flip type games. And what I think that really benefited them was called momentum. And in sports, you need momentum. We haven't seen Jaden Daniels find a moment in time where they lose 2-3 straight, and you're like, okay, we got to dig ourselves out of this. This could be that season, especially with Scary Terry. He doesn't have a deal in place. Deebo Samuel, he's not the same Deebo. So what are they going to do with that? You like Eckler in the back, Robinson, et cetera. Who's going to run the ball for you? Offensive line. And then, that defense it's a lot of names you love. You love those names like 5 years ago. And Bobby Wagner is definitely going to be the top 5 tackler, because he just somehow is always tackling. But tackles doesn't always mean a good defense across the board. So watch out for that. I still have the Eagles at top, though. I just can't displace what they did last year. They didn't only win, they won in such convincing fashion at some points in time, especially in the Super Bowl, that I think you ride that a little bit, even though there will be a hangover. I'm just not sold on the Cowboys or Commanders to take that kind of leap because of everything. So Logan, where are you at?
I have the same list as you, but maybe for a few different reasons behind. So I have the Giants in last place, as I think everything that's already been said. I think that team doesn't have that high of a ceiling. But if you are a fantasy football neighbors drafter and you see Jameis Winston come into the game, you know that you might win that week, because neighbors is getting targeted even if he has 3 people on him. The next list, you have the Cowboys. I think you brought up a good point about Their defense, it's very much questionable. You do say that Micah Parsons is going to get signed on the last day. While sure that might be the case, Micah Parsons is not all the players on the field at defense. Even with a huge star player like Micah Parsons, what else is everyone else going to do? You sign somebody like Pickens. I love Pickens, but who's running the ball? You had one of the most atrocious running games. What, you got Rico Dowell and maybe is Zeke still on the team? You have spent, okay, let's take a brief moment to pause here for a second. For any of the viewers that are listening at home, there has been a long-term debate between Vic and myself and Griffin, and it is about how Jerry Jones has run that football organization. I am on the side that if Jerry Jones decided to not pay Dak Prescott all that money and kept somebody like Trey Lance, who they had on a minimum, and spent all that money to surround the defense with good players, maybe Micah Parsons, for instance, gets that contract. That would be nice. You get CeeDee Lamb on that contract earlier, and you spread out that wealth across the board. That Cowboys team would hit 12. I think if you have Cowboys team money, Cowboys team prowess, everyone wants to play in Dallas, but not over the past 8 years. It hasn't been that fun of a place to play at. But with all that money, they could have assembled a roster. Now we have all of our eggs in 3 players. One of them might not even sign, and the rest is question marks. I don't see how that team can excel above the top 2 teams, the Commanders and the Eagles. The Commanders, I think almost every single quarterback that has one of the greatest seasons their first year always digresses. You look at CJ Stroud, right? CJ Stroud, he had a hell of a season as his rookie year. Then he didn't do that well. He still made the playoffs. It's not like he did awful, but he's going to digress, I think, in terms of Jane Daniels and the Commanders. I think they're a fun team. I'm rooting for them, but I don't think they squeak above the Eagles. However, I think that this division is going to be a lot closer. It's not just going to be the Eagles on top by a clear margin. I think there's a few curses going over to Saquon Barkley this year. I don't know if he's really going to be the same person, but even if you remove Saquon Barkley from existence, that Eagles team is still strong enough to get things done. You could remove a key players. You could remove some morale from that team. There is too much talent on that team not to get first, even if not in convincing fashion. So I have
Very
the
fair.
Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants.
Now, speaking of that Saquon pick, just if there was any listeners looking for some fantasy advice, hypothetically,
Gosh.
you had the
Okay.
third pick in the draft. What would you do with that pick, Logan?
Oh, what do I do with the third pick? I
Yeah.
I message everybody in the chat and I say, is there anybody that's willing to swap picks with me? Because the third pick I think is potentially a death sentence. I don't think there is really that much of a clear 2-3. I think Jamar Chase is a very clear 1, and then Bijan, I guess maybe Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley has been injury prone his whole life, man. You got the Madden curse. You got everything surrounded around Saquon Barkley recently. I just really do not see him
Mm-hmm.
being good. And then you drop towards those lower tiers. Jefferson, JJ McCarthy Jefferson. I don't really want that either. I am not picking Puka Nakua with my first pick on the third round, on the third pick. That is not smart. So if you are in that lower tier, 6, 7, that pick range, then it will be that's the spot you want to be, to be
That's
honest.
fair. That's fair. And you brought up Neighbors there with wins if Jameis gets out there, which I like. But Neighbors hasn't been healthy his career so far either. So as an electric guy, you love him for those 1 weeks. But geez, it's tough. So I don't envy you in that position there. I'm excited
Yeah.
about the 7th pick in our draft coming up later. Let's go over to the AFC now. AFC West feels like there's a clear answer at the top. There is one team that has won the division every year since 2016. We're coming up on a decade of dominance there. Hard pressed to say the Chiefs won't do it again, in my opinion. But then we go down the list, it gets a little bit more interesting. But it even got even more interesting with the Rashawn Slater injury out of the Chargers. He's one of the best left tackles, just got paid as one of the best. I think he lands in my like top 4, I would say. I really like, Tristan Wirfs over in Tampa and stuff like that as the number 1 guys. And maybe even those guys in the Eagles still. I mean, even though they're a little older, I still like those guys. So the Chargers give me pause because they bring in Mike Williams. Mike Williams was like, wait, I kind of want to retire. And then they bring in Keenan Allen. And I said in a thread, he has the ability to do the funniest thing ever and come back and then retire as well. It would be crazy if they brought back 2 Chargers wide receivers. to just retire. And then the Broncos, we love Sean Payton's brilliance, sometimes a little demonic at times, sometimes a little evil if we go back to the Saints era. But then you look at Bo Nix and how much he's progressed.
Do we love his brilliance?
That's what I was saying. Love with sarcasm a little bit sometimes. The Broncos have everything you want on defense. Their offense looks the same. They paid Cortland Sutton. If Cortland Sutton is your one, you like it, but you don't love it. It's kind of like that first round pick, like you were talking about. He's sitting there in round 3. You're like, do I pick up Cortland Sutton this year? And then he just drops a consistent 11 points like Tyler Lockett does all year or something like that. And then last but not least, the Raiders. I mean, it's easy to fade the Raiders, as they say, the faders, but I don't know, Geno and Pete, a little bit of energy in that locker room now. I'm excited. And they also got the Chip Kelly National Championship Ohio State offensive coordinator coming over there to help run the offense. So AFC West, Logan, I'll pass it to you.
I don't think we have to debate the Chiefs winning the division. I think we can just move on from there to the next 3. I think it's kind of a toss-up for the bottom 2. And I have the Raiders at 4 and the Chargers at 3. I think it's very clear, at least from our private conversations and maybe some of the conversations from previous podcasts, that I am not big on Justin Herbert. I think that as good as he is not that $300 million man that you're going to surround so much of your salary cap around. I think that it's exciting what the Chargers are doing. A lot of their young players that they're drafting are ending up being those players that are going to make a difference on the field. However, I don't think they're at the point where they are going to be contentious in the larger standings in the NFL. I see them as a 8-8, 9-6 sort of team. Not anyone to write home about. Might squeak in a wild card, but I have more confidence in the Broncos to win those games. We're talking about, I think, one of the best defenses in the league. I think Bo Nix is just coming into his own. I mean, I talked about it previously with Jane Daniels. You have digressing quarterbacks going into their second season. I think Bo Nix would potentially digress, but you have to look at some of the games last year. He had some awful games, and they still won. Like, the team is really weird. I can't really put a finger on how the Broncos are going to play, but I know that they're just going to do better than the last 3 or the last 2, the Chargers and the Raiders. But I think it's really important. Don't write the Raiders off, not only just from a Seahawks fan. I just think it's kind of exciting what they're doing with some of the young players they're bringing in. I think Geno is great. I think you highlighted that he didn't really get the love he deserved in Seattle from some people. He in his return game, somebody said at a sign, "Who's the bigger bust, Geno Smith or Jamarcus Russell?" Which let's be
crazy.
Honest, doesn't make any sense because you could be the biggest hater of Geno Smith. You could say he's awful. Man has been in the league for so long. Jamarcus Russell wasn't just second string after. No, I don't know what that dude
was got cut. He was done.
I don't know what that person was talking about. I'm really interested to see Ashton Genty play. I think Max Crosby in the defense, they could be all right. Geno, I believe in him, man. I'll always believe in him. So I think he could potentially scoop by the Chargers, but I think the Chargers are just solid enough to remain above the Raiders.
So again, with your hypothetical third pick in the first round, Genty, 3 carries for -1 yards in his first preseason game. Does that get you excited for his potential, or does that get you a little worried?
It gets me excited for the people above me to put a lot more into him than me. I am a firm believer, at least my fantasy football strategy is you do not draft someone who hasn't proven themselves. And maybe this is the reason why I always end up in second place or fringe middle of the pack team. But those players that have the highest of ceilings with the least experience tend to never be the people that you want to pick up. Genty, he falls down. Maybe I could see you go to. He doesn't have anybody competing against him. He has a really good college resume. I could see it working out, but I don't see him being that person that you're going to pick in fantasy football to take you to the championship, as opposed to somebody, I don't know, you take Nico Collins, for instance. Nico Collins has shown himself to be somebody. I'm not that big on him, but I would still take Nico Collins over somebody like Ashton Genty.
So again, sorry to play the hypothetical game. So when you allow a guy like Saquon Barkley to fall to the second round, to then is he not proven enough to be a first round guy behind an Eagles offensive line? Because I think this guy drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown with his first pick and then went and got Barkley with his second pick right after in a fantasy draft. I heard about it. I saw it on Reddit the other day. It's just impressive that certain guys fall on certain rosters. So
It's so
I don't
funny
know.
you mentioned that because it's not like the person I picked was bad. I had Derrick Henry, the same pick you did. Maybe Saquon did a little bit better than Derrick Henry, but we're not going to act like I didn't use the same methodology I said and have it work out for me.
Yep, that's fair. Again, you're coming after me. I said this guy was from Reddit. This isn't me. Back to Vic. What do you think of this division?
Yeah,
From
the
Reddit.
Reddit guy's going crazy, I guess. Gene T was running against community colleges, and then they got paired against an actual
Do
football
not
team.
disrespect that. He
Hey,
went up
hey,
against a team
he's
that
great.
literally
He's
played their
great.
whole defensive alignment to stop him.
Penn State.
Doesn't
That's
matter.
what happened.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
That's what
No,
happened.
listen. I am not a hater in his ability, his work ethic. I think college football needed a running back to do good. That for the first time in a long time, we had people unified for a human being that wasn't playing on Bama or Ohio State or Clemson or something, right? That was cool for the sport, for the smaller campuses, because those recruiters can now say, look what we bred. Look what that guy bred in the other division. We could do this with you, John Doe, whoever it is. I am not a fan of him running in the NFL. I think his community college experience is not going to translate well to playing against NFL defensive linemen. It's just not the same. And that the team, the organization, it's they call it the black hole for a reason. It's just all the happiness and wins get sucked up and they go away. They're going to be in last place. That's a fact. And the Chargers will only be about one game ahead of them. I think they will both be not middle of the pack, not no 8-8 thing we were doing in the NFC. They will both have a bad season. That's about 7, 6, 5 wins. They will be below that mark. And the Broncos will be tailing the Chiefs. They're going to lose to them twice. They're going to lose a couple other games, but they will be that team with 11, 12 wins. The Chiefs will have 14 or 15 again. And we're going to see the Broncos not only in second place in the division, they will make the wild card this year based on their win-loss, which is crazy because one other AFC division here has 3 teams that could all make it as well. But I think that the Broncos will have that year. Not a huge thing about Bo Nix. I'm not going to sit there and ride him, but he and that team, the defense, all he's got to do is play one game better and let his defense stop the team, and he can win 7-6 for all I care. It's going to happen, right? Do Iowa football for it doesn't matter. The Broncos, they just want somebody to not make mistakes, and I think that's all he has to do, and they know that, and the coaching, Sean Payton knows how to put the right people in the right places. You make a few mistakes, it's not the end of the world. Chiefs are the number 1 team. They should have three-peated. I think they're going to that's it, 15 wins.
That's fair. No, and I'm with you with the Broncos. You can almost write off his first 5 games as welcome to the NFL. Just
Right.
figuring out. Logan and I went to that Broncos versus Seahawks game, and they didn't let him throw more than 2 yards down the field that whole game. The training wheels were on, but then they really came off when we got about halfway through the season. So you can almost write off those first 5 games and just think about they could, win 12, 11 games. So like not just a 10-win team. I think they, like you just said, can make a little bit of noise because of how good their defense is. And those Broncos, the system that they run is very quarterback friendly. So Bo Nix just has to not fall out of his shell and he'll be just all right. And now it's interesting that you just brought that up as you were hinting at another AFC division that might have 3 teams in the playoffs. Let's go over to the AFC North. I fear that's where you're going with this. I don't agree with that because I'm more Ravens and Bengals at the top. I think the Steelers finish in third unceremoniously because like we just talked about with at the top, the 49ers. It's cool to keep playing this card. The cards will never fall. You always, the dominoes will never drop a different way. But it's going to eventually. History tells us that it catches up to everyone. So I unfortunately have the Steelers taking that step back. And then talking about a dark hole, that's the Browns right now. Geez Louise. Good luck, Joe. We might get some Huntley reps. We'll see if Sanders can make a name for himself and Flacco. But I'm going Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, Browns. Vic, where are you at with this division?
Yeah, the Browns, they're going to just, Melo will get some reps in there at some point. That team is just abysmal. It's just how it's going to rock. The Steelers are going to make their 9-win. I think it's along the same lines as the Mike Evans 1,000-yard season thing. They're going to have 9 wins. That's a fact. But they will not be to the point where the Broncos are win-wise. Like I said, I hinted earlier, the Broncos will be that wild card team. Where are the other wild card teams potentially coming from? Should have been the Steelers, but I just don't. I am not an Aaron Rodgers believer. I have been certified as an Aaron Rodgers hater. That is not my. He is tied with Rex Grossman for Super Bowl appearances, and he is supposed to be the greatest quarterback of our generation. Get him off the screen. He's only in third place because the Browns exist. That otherwise, that team is in the dumps. I am also on the flip side.
How can you say that they're going to be in the dumps while also claiming they're a 9-win team?
You know what though? It's both. It's pathetic.
That doesn't sound like the dumps.
It's pathetic 9-win games. It's a TJ Watt fumble recovery for 6, a Boswell field goal from 85 yards out, and they win 13-4.
First Caleb Williams win where he threw for 50 yards and had only defensive scores.
My point exactly. The team is tough to play in the wintertime at the stadium. Those December, November games, those home, they always just seem to win them. They go from 7-7 to 9-7 every year. It seems like that's where I'm getting from. Abysmal season, playing the snow, you're going to get your advantage. I'm so high on the Bengals, but they just don't beat the Ravens in terms of win-loss record. I would even go as far as to say that the Bengals finally get their regular season that they've been looking for. They are going to have that 13 win finally. Like last year, they just had an abysmal first couple of games. They had to scratch and claw, and they missed their playoff opportunity on week 17 or whatever the case was. I think they finally get to coast to a 11, 12, 13 win season. Put the pieces together. They're one game behind the Ravens and Derrick Henry. I could hand the ball off to Derrick Henry all day, and it doesn't matter what Lamar Jackson does. The fact that Lamar Jackson can do what he can do is the cherry on top. Give them their 14. They had 12 wins last year. I think they had a couple of bad coached games. They jump up. They go to that 13-14 mark. I would absolutely so the Hawks in the NFC is my I want to be wrong about it. The Bengals is my I want to be wrong. I want them to go up to 1, but if I'm same thing again, sitting at the casino, they tell me what to do. I have to put my money on Ravens at 1, Bengals 2, Steelers 3, the Browns with the bags on their head at number 4.
I love it. And I'm with you. I want the Bengals to be good, but clearly you're not in the camp of that defense is just as bad as it was last year. Name an addition they made that makes you excited. You can't name one because they didn't make a single one. So the Ravens have my advantage because I think both offenses are electric and will score you a ton of points. But the Ravens defense really came along at the end, and their offense doesn't give me any question marks with contract holdouts as T. Higgins on the field, off the field with a hamstring. He's kind of my new Keenan Allen. Like I really liked Keenan Allen, but his hamstrings hated him. So I had to not like him as much kind of thing. And so I'm interested to see what that offense does. I'm interested to see what, Chase Brown does in the backfield for the Bengals. They no longer mix in there for now 2 years. It's a whole different regime. We'll see if Zach Taylor's a good coach over there in Cincy. So Logan, what do you got here? Any differences?
No, I got the same thing. I got Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, Browns. I think if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. If you have 5 quarterbacks, you really have no quarterbacks. I think that team is just poorly run. It just will be interesting to see whose season they can ruin, if anything. The Steelers, I think that this is the very first time Mike Tomlin's going to have that lost season. I think I've never been an Aaron Rodgers fan, not only just from Seahawks bias, but just his last few years, man, he's not the player that you're willing to put all that money towards, or not even all that money towards, at least all that just pressure and all that influence on your team. Yeah, effort. That's a better word for it. I think if Mike Tomlin's got his witchcraft on hand, then maybe they can get 9 wins. But I highly doubt it. I see the Steelers falling apart. I see the Bengals as that team that's just the little brother of the Ravens as of right now. If your biggest celebration is you managing to sign the person you drafted, maybe things aren't going in the best direction as of right now. I want to be wrong about the Bengals. I think the Bengals are a really fun team to watch, but I think the Ravens have never looked better than they do this year, and it'll be interesting. I have put them as one of the favorites for the Super Bowl.
Oh, I love that. Lamar Jackson's kind of like my James Harden of the NFL. Like I love him. It's hard not to like, and that doesn't make any sense to you, Vic. But for Logan, I'm a big James Harden guy. Even though there's a lot of hate towards James Harden, there's a lot of he's only does this is this, and he's only good at that, and that's kind of what Lamar Jackson gets. But he continues to put things together. They go on these streaks. They win MVPs. They figure it out. So yeah, I'm with you. I think the Ravens should be at the top. Here's the only problem. There's this thing called the Chiefs that tend to get in their way, and the Bills' way. So if anybody can do some witchcraft, maybe do it on the Chiefs so that they can get past them a little bit earlier. But I'm with you. Let's go over to the South now, the AFC South. I'm going to run through my list 4-1. At the bottom, Colts. Anthony Richardson, I'm sorry. You got drafted a little too high. You were always going to be a project, but the Colts were like, we need to win now, and we're going to throw you out there. He also just gets banged up a little bit too much. He gets hurt. He's not seeing the field properly across the board. The defense, I'm like, I'm a little excited at times, but I'm not overly excited. And then you throw Daniel Jones out there, maybe Riley Leonard. Who knows what the next plan is at quarterback? I don't trust it at all. And every team starts with where the quarterback's at. You know who I am a little bit more excited about is the Titans with Cam Ward. They're going to be in third for me. Nothing about their team jumps off the page, but Calvin Ridley, he's got Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett's a QB's best friend. That's going to go huge for them over there, especially for a guy like Cam Ward that needs a guy just like the Xavier Restrepo was for him in college. Tyler Lockett's your new Xavier Restrepo. That defense just needs to be decent because look at the teams you're playing. The Texans, Jaguars, and Colts twice a year. You don't need an electric offense. You can win 21, 28-point games or as in the final score and be just fine. Then we go to the Jaguars. I'm not sipping on that Kool-Aid. I'm not following the Travis Hunter hype. I liked the Trevor Lawrence taking that step, but I'm taking a step back and I'm going to just use my head a little bit more and say that the Texans take that top spot because of the consistency they've brought in over the last few years. Despite that offensive line not being awesome, they've made a couple adjustments, not enough, kind of like the Bengals. You wish they did more, but they're like, you know what, let's just do this. Let's bring in this guy. Nico Collins will be healthier. We'll be fine. So we'll have to see. LP, I'm going to go over to you. What's your 1-4?
I have the Titans in last place, unfortunately. As a Cam Ward fan, as a Cougar alumni, I
Go
do like
Cougs!
him, but he unfortunately, as self-admitted from Cam Ward, said his team has a lot to work on or they're mid. I'd love to see their team continue to grow. I don't think this is the year that they move out of fourth. I think that they'll do better than last year, but that's not saying much. I think the Colts are just criminally average. Nothing really to be excited for, nothing to really be that upset for. They're going to ruin some people's seasons, but they're not going to make their own season. The Jaguars, it is good to see that everyone is now at least maybe 1 year, 2 year clean from the Trevor Lawrence propaganda. I think it's finally time for us to start saying that maybe he's not the player that he's been said to be. However, when you're in a division as bad as the AFC South, it's pretty easy to fall in the top two when you play the Colts and the Titans twice a year. So I have the Jags at number 2. And Texans, at this point, they're the team with the most experience. They know how to win. That team is just going to do well if they remain healthy. Even if they don't, I still put them as number 1.
Yeah, if you think about it, Collins got hurt last year. Tank Dell lost his leg. Stephon Diggs lost his leg. Joe Mixon's banged up. He's going into the season a little bit banged up. CJ Stroud didn't only not have an offensive line, he didn't have any weapons. They go out and draft both of the Iowa State wide receivers out there, Noel and Higgins, who I think are going to be solid and names that you're going to be like, oh, they're the Lad McConkeys of this year, where you're like, oh, maybe we should have considered these guys being good when they were, but the offense and their defense is going to just continue to get better when we look at a guy like Will Anderson coming off the edge. And then obviously D'Amico Ryan's calling the play. So Vic, are you the same 1-4 with us? I feel like I say with us because we flip-flop the Colts and the Titans, but where do you land on this?
Right. I am on the Titans in fourth. We love to see Cam Ward potentially do some work. Got the weapons around him, trying to get that done. It's just not gonna happen. And the same with the Colts, right? Colts in 2. The Richardson experiment is over. Unfortunately, they now have to play between Lord knows who else is on that team that's even worth playing in the quarterback position. You listed their names, but it's not like you're going to win games with them. You have to start somebody. Somebody has to be sitting there under center. It doesn't really matter. You look at the AFC South from last year. Titans had 3 wins. The Jags had 4 wins. I think that's going to be where they are now. Colts are going to be in that just horrific kind of area. Now, You're talking about the Jags, the Travis Hunter Kool-Aid. I am drinking Travis Hunter Kool-Aid out of Happy Gilmore cups. Thank you very much. But regardless of the fact, I think it's going to happen. I think we're going to see little tiny plays here and there that get people riled up. Imagine you have a beautiful pass deflection or a tackle, right? Remember when Travis Kelce got tackled by that safety and he gave him props and all that stuff? Good form tackle. And then you get to ride that hype and go burn a defensive back who's probably slower than you unless you're playing one of the top team. Like that is, it's just going to click together for them. And they were like a 9-win team previously. Wherever their regression came from, just it's going away. It's going away. Trevor Lawrence, I don't ride him very much, although LP has, his financial talks about quarterbacks. That's a little bit outlandish the way that he talks about how quarterbacks should and should not get paid. But regardless,
well, Jags, you're gonna have to let me defend myself. The listeners may feel like I'm stingy and not valuing quarterbacks. I will make a statement on that after.
If we're being honest, the AFC South, as much as we love the Texans, oh my gosh, they had a great season. They went to the playoffs. They had a win or two, whatever the case is. They're the new NFC South. The Texans only had 10 wins last year and they made the playoffs. It's not like, his numbers can be great on your little fake game on the computer on fantasy. 10-9 wins, we're in the same situation as the NFC South was a couple of years ago. 1st to 8, win the division. 1st to 7, almost like the Seahawks that one year. It's just like you have got to really take control of this division. And I don't think the Texans do. They are not a division control taker. They're going to lose stupid games. We know they're going to. As much as we love CJ Stroud as the person, up and coming face of the NFL, likable guy, they're going to win the division at 9 wins. And the Jags will miss the playoffs at 8 or 7 wins and the 2 below. I've seen predictions and it's just like Texans, right? Top 10 team, top 8 team. No, they're not. You can take 1 or 2 teams from Bengals, Ravens, Lions, Packers, all the, Hawks, Rams. They're probably all going to have a better record than the Texans. But the Texans win the division because they're playing against, Rogers High School. And it's just, it's awful. It is awful, but somebody has to win and Stroud's going to do it. And I like his experience in the playoffs. I hope they do go and I hope they do get a favorable wild card matchup. But there's nothing really good to say about the AFC South.
Okay, Logan.
Let me make my statement real quick. Anybody that's listening, there's been a long conversation. I briefly talked about it with the Dallas Cowboys. Overpaying your quarterback leaves for the rest of your team to fall into shambles. I think Trevor Lawrence is another good example of that. You give him that massive contract, and I'll acknowledge it. The argument is you lock in that quarterback early, that money starts to look like a lot less down towards the end of their contract. However, has Trevor Lawrence done anything to deserve that money? I think the problem that NFL owners are doing is they are looking at a quarterback as this key piece that you need in your team, which you do. However, they are valuing them at the same level as you would value somebody like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. There are certain QBs you throw the upper echelon of money to. Very few. The rest are getting money that those QBs would get if they were on the market, and their teams fall apart after. Tua Tagovailoa, Dak Prescott, there's plenty of other Justin Herbert. There's plenty of other examples where you put so much money into one place and you ruin the rest of the team. I think if the Jacksonville Jaguars could go back in time, they would have either really tried to renegotiate with Trevor Lawrence or let him walk and fill out the rest of the team. We do forget that Blake Bortles made it to the conference championship game because the rest of the Jaguars were studs, or at least playing like studs at the time. That is my argument. I'm not trying to undervalue the way that NFL players get paid, but the only thing is you are putting so much of your eggs in that one basket that it has to be, they have to be Joe Burrow, and they are not going to be Joe Burrow.
No, and that's why it's really important to win in your QB's first contract. That 4 or 5 year options that you got going on with those rookie deals. And then So it sounds like you're a 49ers fan then, because look at what Brock Purdy did. He signed for less to get that contract out of the way. He didn't reset the quarterback market this offseason. A little sneaky signing we've already stopped talking about. And I feel like the pressure has been lifted off of the 49ers because they had been dancing around making a Super Bowl contention for a while with Purdy on that rookie deal. And now he's got an extension in place, albeit very expensive, not at the top, like with the Herberts and the Lawrences. So yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, but it's hard to let someone walk. The theory of letting people walk is not one that owners are a fan of. They want to get value out of their number one overall draft pick, which is usually these guys. And so that's where it becomes hard, because teams are going to be like, no, if you're not going to pay them, and that's what the narrative is, I'm not going to trade for him, because you'll just let him walk then, apparently. And then we'll go get him for our type of money because we're willing to pay it. And it's just so hard because it is a top of the market position. So it isn't like wide receiver where you could be like, well, there's another guy in the draft. Quarterback is such a crapshoot. You have a good one, you keep it. I mean, look at the Colts. We weren't talking very good about them, even though they have two former first round quarterbacks, whether they should have been taken or not. So no, I'm with you. But hey, I want to be cognizant of time. Let's do the AFC East here. We touched a little bit on Tagovailoa. I'm very interested to see what the Dolphins are all about this year. But actually, I feel like they're falling down the list a little bit because there is a team that everybody's getting a little bit excited about. It rhymes with the New England Patriots. A lot of teams and a lot of people might be saying they might be competing with the big dogs at the top. And if you watch the first preseason game, that would confirm your biases there. But I think the Bills still remain at the top of the division. The Patriots, hello, here's a 9-win season, 10-win season. Let's get you into second place. Dolphins. Is Mike McDaniel a good coach? Yes. Do they have everything together? Nah. Tua's health scares the heck out of me. Yes. I don't know what to do with them. Give me 7-6 wins with them in third place. And then the Jets, I mean, I'm really rooting for Aaron Glenn, and I'm rooting for anybody that gets a head coaching job. But Justin Fields is a tough quarterback to sign to that kind of success that you're looking for. So I unfortunately think even a 5-6 win Jets season, which would be a success with where they're at in their system, and their defense has really regressed since that one good season, even with Rodgers injured. That's what I got. I got Bills, Patriots, Dolphins, Jets. Vic, what do you got?
The Pats are going to be abysmal. This is one that you're saying too. I still have them at 4. At 4, yes,
I love it.
Yes. I'm just not sold. The Ramondre Stevenson thing killed me in fantasy. As all jokes
another
aside,
1 yard rush from Ramondre
another
Stevenson.
one, sir.
He's the Najee Harris, that type of back.
I don't see it. It's not going to happen. I'm also completely on the Jets' downfall. I'd love to see it. I hope they go winless forever, but they're going to have one more win than the Pats. Actually, they'll probably be tied with like 2 wins a pop, and the Jets will get the division tiebreaker or whatever the case is. It's not going to be good. And
it's more what you're saying about the Patriots, though. Well, 2 wins for the Patriots.
Listen, they had 4 last year. I understand they got new pieces, XYZ. Get them out of here. Fins at 2. We can always say health is going to be a factor. You could say it about anybody. You're still going to take CMC as your running back if you're a GM or a fantasy league. You still want slinging Tua. You can't predict the next time he's going to fall on his head. You're going to take Chris Olave still. You're going to take these people. I am not.
No, you're not. You're not going to do any of
Somebody
those
has
things.
to catch the ball.
I will see you take
Somebody has to
CMC
catch
number
the ball
2
there.
above me. I will let you do that any day. Chris Olave receives suicide balls from whoever is throwing him balls.
Somebody is going to catch the football there in the Saints. They're not going to score 0 points a game. Even the Lions went 0-16. They still scored points. They still lost games 28-29. It's going to happen. The Finns, they have been perennially good. The only reason they don't win the division is because there's a guy named Josh Allen who exists. I don't think I don't take any regression from him. If he plays, he didn't play a lot of last season. They had 8 wins. Skylar Thompson was probably half of those losses alone. They are going to solidify their second place in the division. And then the Bills. It's the Bills. You could throw any receiver out there. As we saw last year, you could put anybody out there. They're going to draw a scheme up for them to get open. I think they only get better, even if their receivers are still a little bit lacking in terms of big name, big talent. Bills, Finns, Jets, Bill Belichick-less Pats.
Damn. The Patriots hype is not alive and well in Vic Money's household right now. That's fair. That's fair. I mean, Drake May is still a question mark, but I'm going to bet on him a little bit more than maybe those other quarterbacks. He's kind of in that Trevor Lawrence where it's like we were really excited at the beginning. Let's see what you got here now. And I'm excited in a Vrabel system what that's going to be. And the Dolphins, I'm with you. Health isn't really what scares me with their offensive pieces. It scares me more with their defense. You see Bradley Chubb, you're like, oh, I love Bradley Chubb. When does he play more than 5 games? He's kind of got that Joey Bosa effect. There's always those really good defensive linemen that are always hurt. Same across the board on their defense. They bring in, a bunch of new pieces, a lot of rookies on the line. It's going to be weird, but I'm with you. The Dolphins hate cold weather, so that's the only thing that kind of holds them back later in the year, and hopefully Tua stays healthy. So, Logan, where do you got? Because I'm actually surprised that we got the Patriots on 4th here in the AFC East from one of us.
Yeah, I'll end this. I'll end this podcast with the last final hot take with what I think about with this division. I think you guys have made a lot of points, but my rebuttal is when health is a factor. Yes, health can be a factor for anybody, but when health is solely reliant on your quarterback and he has maybe the worst injury history of anyone in the league, and he's going into another league where he was almost mandatorily medically retired from the NFL, I really am just not confident in how that's going to play out for the Dolphins. I love Tua. I wish the best for him. I was a Tyreek Hill drafter last year, and that hurt my heart watching the Dolphins play without Tua for that whole season. I know he eventually came back, but it was just absolutely brutal. I see the Dolphins as a team that they had their fun, and now they're just going to slowly fall apart. I'm making a prediction that Tyreek Hill is going to leave this team before the end of the season. It's just time for him to exit, and he's going to go to some threat of a team in the NFL. Next, obviously, you have the Bills at number 1. I think that's unquestionable. But where I think the hot take comes is I think the New York Jets are running at number 2 in the division. I don't think people realize that their defense, I don't think it's that bad as people are saying. You have Quinn Williams, Quinn Williams is one of the greatest defenders in the league. You have Sauce Gardner, who had a down year. Let the man come back. Everybody has a down year. I think the rest of their defense, they'll figure it out. We forget how good Breece Hall was when he was first starting. We forget that Garrett Wilson is still one of the top receivers in the league. And we also forget that Justin Fields led the Steelers to a winning record when he was starting. Sure, Steelers, totally different organization than the Bears and the Steelers, totally get it. However, I think Justin Fields has learned enough from that past year to propel this team to a decent record. I don't think they're going to be any scarier of a team with Justin Fields, but I think with Rodgers gone, they can finally take a deep breath and actually utilize the young weapons that they have on their team. Leaving the Pats at number 3, I could totally be wrong. I would maybe even put the Pats at number 2. I'm on the hype train with them. Unfortunately, I feel like if you win 6 Super Bowls, you need at least 2 decades of just mid-season. So I'm a little bit upset that they're kind of on the come up, but I'm still big on Stephon Diggs. You got Kyle Williams coming out. You have Drake May now getting some threats with a rising defense. I think it solely depends on how Drake May plays. I'm excited for him to actually get the reins. I was really low on him when he came to the league, and I was really wrong. So now that Jacoby Brissett's not playing, Drake May is going to get that starting role. I could see them doing well, but rookie quarterbacks, man, you can never trust them to really pull it off. So I have Bills, Jets, Pats, Dolphins.
I think the standard deviation on this division was the worst that we've had across this entire show. There's like an average of like 2 different positions, 2.0. That is crazy.
I put this one as the last one that we did because I actually thought it was going to be that way too. I wanted to start each division with kind of a head scratcher, one that we could go different ways, and then end each division. And it looks like the NFC East and the AFC East, we went a lot of different directions. We had Cowboys winning. We had Patriots stepping all the way back. The only thing we agreed on in the AFC East was the Bills, and I'm with you. I mean, it's hard not to bet against them. And when it's all said and done, it might not even matter who finishes 2 through 4 because one team from this division might go to the playoffs anyways, especially if we're as high on the Broncos, the Bengals, even the Steelers coming around, the Jaguars, Texans, maybe even a Colts dancing around at the end. So I don't know, gentlemen. Okay, I want your fire take here, your hot take. Who's winning the Super Bowl? Don't pick the teams at the top, Eagles or Chiefs. Don't pick them. Say hot take alert. Who's winning the Super Bowl? If you had to just throw a name out there that you were kind of resting on, Vic, how about you?
The Bills. It's his time. They need to. I am not a Lamar Jackson fan when it comes to any game past the divisional. Love him. He could go 17-0 and dominate the first round of the playoffs as soon as they get past there. It doesn't matter who he plays. You could even ixnay Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen, that fourth down run that we saw last year against the Chiefs, I thought that was they're going to have that in a freaking statue outside of the stadium, and then they didn't do it in the playoffs. They're going to win it if I have to not choose the Chiefs and the Eagles, which I wouldn't pick the Eagles regardless of the fact. Yeah. But the Bills.
I love it. Lowe's, where are you going?
I have the Lions, man. I think that city is ready for the Super Bowl. I'm rooting for them. I think that they have such a fun team, and they're finally just getting the experience they need to finally get over the hump. You could call the new coaching changes a much larger factor than I'm giving it, but you still have the main man, Dan Campbell, at the helm. He can get it done. That man is deserving of 10 statues across the city of Detroit for what he's done for that football team. And I think that this is the year that they will pull it off, outside of, obviously, the Seahawks, who have already guaranteed the win.
Exactly. No, I'm with you guys. I can't stop drinking the Kool-Aid of the Ravens. I'm going to keep putting them down because the year that I'm right, I'm going to feel so good after 5 years of being wrong about it because I just think it's that year with Lamar. Well, gentlemen, thank you for joining the show here. Show about sports. We're wrapping up our NFL division and standings rankings here for 2025. Pull out your papers, start writing some things down. Logan started this by saying he had the answer key. So make sure to just listen to his guesses there, and those will be the right answers. Me and Vic, I guess, are just having some fun here on the side with the little cheat sheets that Logan has on the side. So thank you, everyone. Make sure to subscribe wherever you find your podcast, and also on YouTube, and follow me on Instagram and Threads, and follow these two as well. They don't write as much and post as much, but I will be tagging them to kind of empower them to post a little bit more. But as always, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and cheers.